Hey crafty cuties, welcome back to Paper Terrace. In today's video I'm going to show you a very important part of my mass journal making steps, which is making the journal pages. Now I do this in an assembly line type order, and I make all of the same type of page all together, and when they're done I store them in here. But today I'm going to show you my 10 favorite page ideas, which are very simple. Anyone can do these, and a lot of these are going to be using up those scraps. And you know how a lot of us have just like the strips of paper left over, or smaller pieces like this from cutting a 12 by 12 page apart? Well, that's what we're going to be using a lot of today. I want to quickly do an overview and show you the 10 page ideas just super quick, and then we'll get into making each one. And I'm going to keep these very simple, and we'll make just the base idea, and then you can take that idea and decorate it however you want, but they also look really great just plain. Okay, this first idea has a little swivel, and it looks like an envelope, but it actually opens up. It's just kind of a mini folio, and it has 3 little pockets which you can put teeny little ephemera. And of course you can customize this and really do whatever you want to the inside, but I'm going to show you how to make it like that. This page idea has just 2 little side pockets like this. See what I said? They're all just very simple, and I just don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed, which is why we're doing very simple. This one right here is a double pocket, but they're kind of overlapped each other, and a little bit of interest is included by making the corners like so. And then you have the 2 little pockets right here. And if you can see, I make all of these on like a base page, and then I go ahead and put this into the journals when I am decorating them. Right here we just have a really cute little botanical book page pocket, and you can really use any kind of book pages that you have, and it's going to look great. The next idea is just a little collage-y ephemera piece, or not ephemera, but a little embellishment. And I like to take these and place them on manila envelopes, kind of like this, but you can put them on an envelope, or you can put them on a page like this to be a pocket. There's really so many things, but we're using the scraps from this one to make this one. Next is just a belly band, but it's special because it's collage, and I'm going to show you how to make a bunch of these at once. Next, very simple. Again, I can probably quit saying that, but it's just an envelope, but it's using those scrap pieces, and it's nice and functional and decorative. One of my most probably made pages is a double pocket, so this is great for tags or smaller little journaling spots. This next one is a little flippy page, and I did some stamping on this one and included some digitals that are super pretty. These are from Kara Brandon. This next one is something I shared on TikTok, and it's a little secret journaling spot. I love these, went crazy making these. They're so much fun. And those are the 10 page ideas. At the end, if you stick around, I'm going to show you about 5 more really simple things that you can do. Let's hop into number 1, where we're going to make this little swivel folio. So you're just going to need some scraps. I don't measure, I just use what I have. For instance, this is about 12 inches by 4 inches. And to make the base part of this, I'm going to fold up like not quite half, but like just a good amount, so that you have a smaller portion left. And then I fold this part down, and when I do that, if you can see, the fold mark is a little bit about an inch above the top of this, because I like that extra space in between. So you've just created the base just by making 2 simple folds. Then with some other scraps, what you're going to do is create some pockets on the inside, and I am going to actually just take, I have some scrap like wax paper here. I'm just going to measure by placing it along here. This just really doesn't have to be perfect at all. You can do a different number of pockets. Each one can be different. I'm gonna just maybe I'll do 2 for this one. And we're also going to be making a cute little swivel closure. So I like to start off with that so that we know where the brad will be, and then we can cover that up. Okay, so for this part, I'm just gonna take another scrap and cut a little strip. This is maybe like 1/2 inch by 3 inches. And then you're gonna take a little circle punch, and if you don't have a circle punch, you can just cut out a circle, or really any other shape. It could be a square even, honestly, just so you have 2 layers. Okay, so next I'm gonna take a little pokey tool, and I'm gonna do my best to poke the smaller piece in the middle, and then I'm just gonna measure where that hole lines up. So you can see some of the circle is kind of peeking out here, and I'm gonna poke that hole so that it goes through both. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and put my brad through both of them. Okay, so then you have both pieces held together with the brad, and then we're gonna take this and just measure it. So you want the flap to be on the top, and then you're just gonna kind of hold this in the middle, all the way over in the, or sorry, in the middle here, and you want that flap to be more than halfway up above on the flap here. And I think I just said that funny. And so I'm just gonna kind of measure where I wanted that hole to pop through. And then you can place that through, close that up. And if you want to round this tab, you can. I like the look of that, but for now I'll just show it to you. And sometimes this will kind of like pop up like that, and all you really need to do is just make sure that your folds are really nice and creased so that they don't like naturally want to open up. But once it's in your journal, it's going to be totally fine. Okay, so now what I like to do is open this up, and personally I like to cover up that brad, the prongs, and so I'm going to make my pocket, first pocket, be right here, right over that brad, and I'm going to glue the 3 edges, and here's where you can decide if you want to sew or glue. But I'm gonna make this pocket right here, and you can make your pocket open on the top or the bottom. Since this one flips, I really just kind of change it up. And then I think I'll just do one more pocket on this side, and again I'm gonna just use a small amount of glue on the 3 edges, and then this one is done. And this can be really fun to decorate even more if you want to add any kind of pretty embellishments to it or anything, but I really like the look of it just how it is, and you can fill it up with some fun little ephemera pieces or tickets or anything small. So that's going to look great in a journal page. You can glue it all the way down if you want, or you can clip it in. Next up is the double side pocket, and we're going to take a base page. Mine's 5 by 7 because that will fit nicely on the pages of my journals, and then I have another strip that was just leftover paper that's about the same height but a little less wide, and then I even have a second paper that's just a book page. Maybe a different design or something like that would look good. But I also wanted to point out that these clear adhesive pockets, which I'll link below, would also be great to add on top of that second pocket as well to make a second pocket. But for this one, I'm just gonna go ahead and use this piece. You can ink up the edges and everything to really spruce this up. I'm also gonna take my circle punch and just punch out a little knob. It's not really necessary, but I'll go ahead and glue 3 edges. When you do use a sewing machine on these, I do feel like it adds quite a bit of extra texture and interest to the page, but again, you don't have to. And then I'll go ahead and also add I'll add glue on the 3 edges here. And if you wanted, you could make that top pocket top loading or side loading. Oops, this page was a little longer than my base page, but that's okay because I can trim that up. No biggie. Then you have a nice double pocket just like that. This one's really great for using up tiny little scraps. I used up so many making a bunch of these for my journals. So we're gonna I have actually 2 pieces of wallpaper, and I've just cut those into squares, but then I went ahead and I'll kind of show a demonstration. Let's say this is our square. I didn't even measure, but I just chopped off the corners like that. And I just think that it adds just a little bit something extra. And I actually saw someone do this page idea somewhere. I'll try to find the page or the YouTube channel where I saw it and link it below. But we're gonna go ahead and just glue on 3 edges, just like I do for most pockets. Again, sewing does add some extra interest, but it's not necessary. My base page again is 5 by 7. I'm going to place this one up towards the left hand side top, but keep in mind that you want to keep a little bit of space for whatever you plan to put in the pocket. Like if you have a long tag, you might want to bring it down a bit more, but I'll probably just use something small like that, and that's okay if it peeks out a bit. Then take your second, and again I'm going to go ahead and just glue around 3 edges. And for this one, I do like to kind of place it overlapping that top one just a bit, because I think it just looks really cool that way, honestly. And inking up the edges definitely adds a little bit of dimension. So there we go. There is that page. Now I love using book pages in my journals, but especially botanical book pages. But if you only have regular book pages, still this is going to look great, especially if you spruce it up a bit. So what I like to do is take my book page. I also have an extra page that's going to be the same exact size, and I want to go ahead and make this not as tall. So I'm going to use my ruler and cut this. I'm going to line these both up because I can just cut both of them. And what I did so that I can make 2 projects out of one was plan this out so that, okay, I think I'll just take off about this much. But I actually saved this piece right here for the next project, which you're gonna see in a minute. So that was pretty cool. And then for this part, you can go ahead and decorate the very top of the pocket. And you can go super crazy and have lots of fun with it, but I also like to just, I don't really need this much lace, but I like to just add a little bit of lace to the top. This is kind of like my go-to decorating for these. And then I like to just use one of these little butterfly stickers, but really like any kind of little ephemera piece or stickers that you have would probably look awesome depending on what theme you are going for. And so then I just like to place that usually off to one side like that. And then again, you're gonna glue around the 3 sides to make a pocket. Also, sorry if the lighting's pretty off today. It's 115 degrees here in Portland, and so I actually need all of my windows and shades to be closed because it's just way too hot. And we do have AC, thank goodness, but it's definitely working on overtime. Okay, so there we go. And again, inking up the edges is just gonna add to this, but I think it's definitely a nice base to work with, or even as is if you want a more clean cut look. Okay, so the next idea is our little collage bit, and I do add an eyelet in this one just to kind of show that you can do all kinds of different little things. Okay, so again, we're going to use this little scrap that we had, and if you want, you can also emboss this to give it a little more interest, and especially if you have a more white book page. And instead of pulling out my embossing machine, my die cutting machine, I wanted to show you real quick that if you have an embossing folder, you can ink it up. I'm going to spray this with the lightest amount of water. That was probably a little bit too much, so I'm just going to kind of dry it off a bit just to see what effect we get. You can close this now, and you can use a rolling pin. I think I got this idea from one of you. Put as much pressure, you know, as you want or can. And of course you can just use your die cutting machine, but if you didn't want to get it out like I didn't today, we can do that. And then you have this kind of faux embossing like so. And it just adds some interest. I keep saying that word, interest. So for this, you just need really some scraps to decorate. So I'm going to use just a little piece of this hanky here. I'm just gonna add a line of glue, go like that. I really like using these little, they're like actual vintage tickets that I have in my stash. Maybe a little teeny ticket that I found. I'm not really like thinking this through. I'm just adding a few little bits and pieces that were in my stash. Okay. Okay, like that. I mean, I could go to town and keep adding more really, but I think just a few little pieces is honestly enough. So I'm gonna keep it there. And since, sorry, since I'm not gonna sew this one, I'm gonna go ahead and add a couple staples. Just because I like kind of like the most I can get as far as as far as textures go on my pieces like this. And then of course, if you want, you can also put an eyelet in the corner like I did here. That is going to make it a little bulky. So I think I'll just keep this one like so. And now you can take these and add it to a page for a pocket, or you can put it on as like a decoration, a tuck spot, or I really like the idea of adding it on like the flap of an envelope like that. So the opportunities are endless with this. Now, while this one is pretty similar to what we just did, I have a different process for this, so I still want to show it, and I call this a collage belly band. And the reason I like this one is because you can make a ton of those at once. So you're going to go ahead and just take a piece of, I like to start with printer paper, and this one's probably like 4.5 inches by 11, and then take all of your little scraps out that you've been holding on to, and I like to start at one end, and I just add some glue about halfway down so that it doesn't dry. And what I like to do is just start kind of ripping up my scraps, placing them down. You can keep your scrap pieces that you're putting on here as big or as small as you want. The smaller that you put them, you know, it's gonna add more interest, there's that word again, into your project, but it also looks just fine if you have bigger pieces too. And what I really like to make sure I'm doing is adding, if you have any papers that have like embossing or different textures, like I really like using wallpaper on this project because it really adds a lot. So I'm just gonna do this. Now while I'm pulling from this bundle, I'm also gonna keep in mind that if I have any pages that have something that can be like a focal point, like maybe some mushrooms, because I love that, or flowers or something like that, I'll kind of set those aside because it is fun to include a little focal point since there is so much going on this project. And so you can see I'm just not thinking about, this is one that you really can do while you're just standing around, maybe talking to someone, or you know, you're watching a show if you do that, something like that. Okay, I'll just kind of finish up. I'm just going to show you how to do one side here so that we can get this done quickly. Now I really like to take my sewing machine and I just do a few lines back and forth on this one. I did a few lines across, and now what I like to do is to chop this up into strips, and you can decide how big you want your strips. I usually like to do 2 inches. Now also you can make sure that you are cutting these into strips that work for the size of journal that you are working with. I'm gonna do mine, these are almost 6 inches, so it might be a little longer than what I need, but that's okay. I can always trim. I'd rather have it be a little too long. So I'm just gonna basically go down. Sometimes the threads here kind of don't get trimmed, but we can cut those apart. And so like I was saying, if you do a full piece of paper and cut these into strips, you can have a lot more. And it's just kind of like a project that you can, you know, do. You get to do one thing and then you end up with a lot more than just one outcome. And then I like to take these, and when I'm adding them to a page, I literally just add some glue here and glue here. And if you want to create or make these a little bit more special, you can also, like I was saying, find one of your papers or maybe like a book page where you liked an image, and I'm just going to cut out a little mushroom here so that you can have like a little focal point. But you could also dig into, like, if you have stickers or other embellishments, maybe a label would look really nice, and you can decorate these up so many ways. I'll just add like a little mushroom, and I just think that it adds, just kind of makes it a little bit more standout-ish. So here we have our collage belly bands. This one could not be any easier. It's just an envelope, but I couldn't leave it out because it's genuinely something that I do all the time, and I think it's so functional. Also, it uses up again, the strips of paper that you usually have. Now this one's about 6 inches by 12, but even like a 3-inch strip by 12 works great. And once again, I don't measure. I fold up, I fold down, then I'm gonna go ahead and sew or glue. We'll glue along just 2 sides this time. There we go. And with these envelopes, a lot of times if I want to make this extra special, you can decorate the flap of it, and I love that. So I had to include this one because I'm always going to be making this style of envelope. I think it's so cute and it's just so easy, and it uses up those strips that we always have. Next up is a little double side pocket. You just need one piece of paper that's about 6 inches by 7, and a second piece of paper that's just about the same size, and then anything that you want to decorate the middle. I really do like to ink this one up, and I'm just going to use what I grabbed, this Victorian velvet. So I'm going to take this and fold it in half. Then on that crease, I'm going to make sure to add some ink right there, all along the sides. And again, if you want to make a little notch, take your hole punch and just cut out a little half circle right while it's folded so that you have this little notch. And then it's just kind of a little bit easier to pull out any tags or journaling cards that you place in the pockets. Then for this one, I like to glue on the 3 edges, but also the center. Now if you don't want that center to be closed off, you don't have to glue that. Then you'll just place it right on top of your second piece here. And I always just use printer paper because I have a lot on hand and you're not really going to see it, and it's totally fine that it's kind of a more flimsy paper. And then I like to add lace to the center a lot, but again, you can get creative and you could use scraps, you could make it a little bit more collagey, or different embellishments that you have. This one might. And then if you want, you can sew around the edges as well. And I guess I haven't really been saying, but with all of these page ideas, I'll literally just take them and I usually glue them right onto a journal page, because all of the journal pages right now that I have for my journals are blank. So I'll just glue it right down. But if you want to create more pockets, you can always just glue around the 3 edges, whichever way you want, to create a pocket within a pocket within a pocket. I'll probably have a 3rd video showing me putting some of these onto the pages if you want to see that too. So the next one is just a little page flip, but it has a nice window. So obviously I'm using a blank CD envelope here, and I get these on Amazon, but the inside piece is just some cut up digital printable that I had, and it's from Cara Brandon. I'll link this one below, but you can also use book pages, a journaling card, an image that you have. And how I like to decorate these ones is by just using some stamps. I got this set from Amazon, of course, and I can't find my acrylic stamping platform, so I'm just going to use the back of my ink stamp here. So I'm just going to do a few little stamps, and I'm going to place something underneath so I don't stamp too much on my background here. And so I'll just kind of have fun with my stamps. I think it's so great to include your stamps in your projects. I don't know about you, but I tend to forget about these a lot, and so it's nice to actually go ahead and use them up. And I don't always stamp around the entire thing or anything. I don't have an exact, I know there's a huge glare. I don't have any specific way that I do this, but it really doesn't even have to be perfect stamping. My camera's having a really hard time focusing with the glare, but I'm gonna take this, whoops, this is not the best way to stamp, but that's okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, so, oh boy, I'm just gonna use my hands now. So I'm just gonna take this little branch and just kind of do a little wreath kind of thing, and we'll just keep it at that. So I think this is a really fun way to use up stamps, but of course you can decorate however you want, and then inking up the edges. I did not do perfect stamping, but I think that it looks really cute either way. And then for this, I like to just glue the flap, and I just place it on a page so that you can actually flap up and down, and then you could put a picture or something in here to finish it off, or you could even put embellishments on the outside kind of overlapping the window. That's also really pretty. The last one I had to include is this little secret journaling spot. I love this. I got this idea from Kara Brandon, which I'm gonna have her channel linked below. Any channels that I got inspiration from, I'm gonna link them below. Sometimes it can be hard to find and remember where you got the ideas from, but here we go. You're gonna start with a postcard or a tag or a journaling card. Kara Brandon has free printables in her Facebook group where I got this one and some others, so you can check that out. But I'm gonna take this really pretty postcard. You want a second piece of like paper that's just about the same size as your postcard or journaling card, and you want a second piece, and I use like an index card or something that's a little bit smaller. We're gonna go ahead and just cut about a third of the top off. Oh gosh, I feel bad cutting through this fairy's little head, darn it. Then you want the second piece to be the same exact size as actually the bottom piece that we just cut off. So what I like to do is just go ahead and I'm going to take glue, and we're going to glue around the 3 edges. We're creating a little pocket, so try not to get too messy with the glue here. You can, as always, sew this instead, but I'm going to show it with glue. Then we're going to trim this top portion off. We don't need this, so ideally you could have started with a smaller paper, but this is just the easiest way for me, honestly. Okay, you really want to make sure this glue dries before we do this next step, but for me, I think it's good to go. So we're going to use this index card, and you want to make sure that it's definitely going to fit down in the pocket. So if you need to trim it so that it's a little less wide, I think this one will fit just fine. I just don't want it to get stuck in the glue. But for the next part, I'm actually going to put it in the pocket, push it as far down as you're wanting it to go down. Try not to glue it in there, but since you probably waited for your glue to dry, you won't have the issue. Then you're going to just go ahead and add glue. Glue this on, but make sure that you line it up just perfectly so that everything lines up just nice and dandy. Take your time on this, which is kind of why I like wet glue for this, because I have a little bit of room. Okay, once it's all lined up, again, just make sure everything is pressed down good. And then for this, I think you could go ahead and glue just the bottom portion onto a book page. And you could also clip it in if you want, but I think by gluing it down on the page, and then it's really going to, you're not really going to be able to tell that it's actually a little secret journaling spot. I loved this one and had to include it and make sure to give Kara a little shout out because that was such a cute idea. So I told you guys that I had a few extras, little bonus page ideas, or decorations rather. So let me show you those real quick. So these are things I like to just add to an empty page or tuck in kind of last minute. So this first one, you're gonna just take 2 book pages. You're gonna sew or glue around 3 edges, which we do a lot. And then you'll fold it in half, and now you can include this in one of your signatures so that you have a little pocket on top on each side, but it's kind of a 2-in-1 deal because you just make 1 page, but now that you're folding it in half, you'll have 2 different little pockets in your journal, which is really simple. The next thing is cutting up some file folders that you have to create smaller file folders, and I either leave them somewhat plain, add a little bit of stamping or washi, and then with these you can always add pockets if you want inside, or leave them blank for a journaling spot. Next is by taking the clear adhesive pockets, which I love, and just embellishing the outside. These end up looking really pretty if you stick like a journaling card or tag. I just love how you can decorate the outside and still see what you put in the pocket. And I love those adhesive pockets so much. Next up is taking the same idea that we did for the collage belly band, but using fabric and then cutting up into tag shapes and ending up with a bunch of fabric patchwork tags. Love this so much. This would even look great in one of these adhesive pockets. Oh gosh. Yes, yes, yes. And the very last idea that I'm going to share with you guys today is by decorating or collaging glassine bags. Again, use up those scraps. It looks so fun when you just add a bunch of different textures and prints and toss it in your journal. I hope that you guys got lots of inspiration in this video. I hope you'll try them out and let me know if this was helpful down below. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.